Everybody, thank you very much for coming back to the pigsty tonight. And we've been very lucky tonight. We have got Mama as a co-host, and we have got Atheist Morph as the man in the red suit. Peter has introduced me. Peter from Gonna Go For It introduced me to this man, and we're gonna get to know each other tonight. So, Atheist Morph, or Morph as we're going to refer to you, if you could introduce yourself, let everybody know where we can find you.
Hi, I'm Atheist Morph, and at the time of counting, I've got a massive total of 29 members on my YouTube channel, and some of my videos have had as many as 11 views. And I really don't think my stuff is that bad. Please go check it out.
Yeah, links are in the description, and excuse me, links for his channel are in the description. Give the man a wee look, and let's try and get him to more subs than he has tonight. If Peter backs him, you'll either agree with Peter or Peter will come and hunt you down. So, first thing I usually start with people, Morph, is what brought you to the internet? I know your channel's only only started from October, I think it is, this year.
Yeah. So, without telling too boring a story, I've been a lifelong atheist. My parents weren't particularly religious, but I did get sent to Sunday school, and at a quite young age, I could tell that the stories that they were telling about, creation didn't match up with anything I was reading in science books. And I kind of believed the science rather than what they were saying. And I spent most of it, because I'm quite old, I'm one of these people who really are scared of getting coronavirus. It's one of the reasons I wear the suit, is because I'm old and ugly. And
why do you think? Yeah, see me.
I spent most of my life just thinking people who were religious were a little bit soft in the head, at least in that regard. And then about 5 years ago, it's quite interesting, because I had a long talk with Lilith the other day, and it's about the same time that she was coming out of religion. I had a moment that just angered me so much that I became an active atheist, shall we say. I was actually in a school assembly, and they wheeled in some, religious guy.
Yeah.
So it's a religious school, but they wheeled in somebody who just started talking to the kids about Adam and Eve, and I just thought to myself, it just like a flash, it just went with me. Everybody knows that this is not true. Why are they allowed to bring somebody in to lie to children? And it angered me so much. And then I went on a binge watch of everything that Hitchens ever did, and a lot of Sam Harris's debates, a lot of Dawkins. And then I discovered Matt Dillahunty and Aaron Ra and all these people. And then over a period of time, I just thought I could do this too. And I don't think we lack voices. I think we need more voices. When you look on Twitter and you see how many likes most of us get, and then you watch some of these stupid pastors and things, and some of the ridiculous things they say, and they're getting like thousands and thousands of likes.
Yeah.
We actually need more voices, and we need more people to care. So I've become a bit of an atheist evangelist, really.
Yeah, I've noticed that you really, in terms of the people that you really admire, you've got Hitchens and you've got Aaron. You tend to use a lot of their quotes or their videos in your videos. Is there anybody else that you really look up to in the community?
There's a lot. Seth Andrews, I think I've listened to every episode of The Thinking Atheist.
That's just because of his voice.
I really like Cosmic Skeptic, Rationality Rules, that whole group of people. I like the cast of Talk Heathen, Eric Murphy, and all of those people. I probably couldn't list them all. I love watching Peter's channel. I've been, recently binge watching this channel. When I discover somebody new, I just like to see a lot of their stuff.
Binge watching seems to be the way to go. It's the same reason I'm not ignoring the new Westworld, but just waiting till there's at least some, because when you watch 40 minutes, you just want more.
Yeah, well, I haven't started watching Picard yet because I want it all to be there.
Exactly, yeah. Well, I can't with Picard because I'm a massive Star Trek fan. Mom is more of a Star Wars fan, but no, we're all right.
Start with me.
So,
Well,
Morph, I
actually-
usually ask, I'm going to ask, what is the crack with the red suit? Did you decide that you were going to wear a red suit? Did you decide that you were going to wear some sort of a mask? Were you like, man, it's a big, bright red suit?
It's identity protection, basically. I work for a religious organization. They aren't crackpots. For example, there's a good deal of support for LGBTQI where I work. But whilst they're actually not bothered about the fact that I'm an atheist, this is Western Australia after all. I mean, nobody really gets that heated about anything, really. They wouldn't like it if I was actively promoting atheism. So it's identity protection. It's not just to upset Bob Bunnell.
Now, I get that a lot from the friends that I have that live in Australia. They're always telling me, people don't give a shit about church and religion here, even the religious people, which is hard for me to understand because I'm an American and it's so ingrained in our culture. And even though we're technically not, a Christian nation, the amount of Christianity just entwined in everything that we do, it's so interesting to see that even though we have similar cultures, you guys don't have that at all. You can talk about that, how much church and Christianity is a part of Australian life?
Well, we've got an evangelical prime minister at the moment.
Yeah, that's true.
Unlike what's happening in the States, he won't get away with the sort of stuff that Trump or Pence come out with. He would just be removed from office, basically. So even though he probably privately believes everybody's back with the coronavirus and all this sort of stuff, he's still got to actually take action because he can't go with his private beliefs at all. He'd be ousted. We've actually had an openly atheist prime minister here.
Wow, so, that is something that we wouldn't have.
Openly atheist, yeah. It's a pity she didn't do a better job.
Do you know any of the other Australian YouTubers that Mama would be, who anointed her an honorary Australian? Do you know of Atheist Morph or any of the other group of them?
No, I don't. Can you point me in the direction?
Mama knows more about them, so I'll just...
Yeah, we've got Atheist Pastor, Navardia, Marrow, Nacho Witness, Den's Little Corner, Mr. Bear, Vagrant Sam, and then, in Nevermore is not, he's an American too, but he's another honorary Australian, but we all tend to kind of be together all the time. So there's this, we have 6-pack on Fridays. It's Friday night for you guys. Friday, it's early fucking in the morning for us. Or it's just 5 atheists and we bring on a guest, usually an atheist too. We sit and drink and just have fun and talk. So you should, it'd be nice to have you on sometime.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Was there anything in particular, Morph, that happened that made you decide, this is, was there something you seen or something that happened that you were like, right, I definitely have to take a step now and start to scream and shout for people to hear me?
Yeah, I think I spent a lot of time watching all of the people I talked about, the Hitchens and so on. And then I just one day I just got up and I thought, I need to actually say something now. I can't just, absorb it. And because as time was going on, I just saw more and more what I hadn't seen for about 50 years of my life was all of the negative impact that religion has on society. And especially with, things like Trump getting elected. Incidentally, just as a digression, isn't it good that if the coronavirus kills people, it's more likely to be the people that vote for Trump?
Well,
this could seriously influence the election later in the year, couldn't it?
Well, it definitely could, yeah.
I don't think it's going to matter. It doesn't matter how they're. I saw this video the other day. I'm sure you've seen it. It was all over. These people going to church and saying, "Well, they're covered in the blood of Christ." Yeah. So
I've got a friend who lives in the States who I knew many, many years ago, and he wasn't a religious guy, and he's moved to the States and he's become ultra religious. And back when I knew him well, he was very, liberal, would have been a bit left leaning, and now he's an ardent Trump supporter.
Do you know where he lives? Like in the States?
I don't know exactly where he lives. No, he lives on Facebook.
I'm gonna guess it's below the Mason-Dixon line. I'm just gonna guess. So
yeah, it could well be. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he married a very religious woman, and he's just become ultra religious, and now he's right wing, gun toting, the whole works.
Yeah. It's like I said, it's so ingrained in the culture here, and I'm from the north where it doesn't, nobody cares about church. Some people go just because they're used to it, but nobody gives a shit. But when I moved down here, it's so important. And when people found out I was an atheist, I literally had a woman spit in my face. Like they get fucking angry. They don't like it. So yeah. I do this shit online now.
But I think their reaction to it shows how they're not really that certain of their own beliefs. The fact that they go so hard at people that don't agree with them. Mm-hmm. They must know they're on shaky ground. It's the same. With the Muslims. They the way they go on in their countries, and they can actually execute atheists and so on. It's just to me, it just shows that they're not sure of their position. If you're sure of your position, surely you can argue your position.
And they're afraid of people, in their church learning reality, really, to be honest with you. Especially in countries like that where atheists can still be executed. In fact, I know somebody that is running from Egypt right now because he's an atheist and he didn't know what to do. And it's fucking frightening. They're just scared. They're scared of people leaving their church or leaving their faith. So, I know what you mean.
It's terrible.
Sorry, go on ahead, Morph.
Yeah, no, it's terrible, and this is the sort of thing that really made me feel that I've got to speak out. And in Western Australia, I'm safe to do so. Whether I'd have the courage to do so if I actually lived in Iran or something, I don't know. That's why I have such admiration for somebody like Armin Navabi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Talking about people that you would fight against, I've noticed a few not repeat videos, but people who have been brought up in your channel, like Bob Burnell and our wonderful friend that annoyed Mama the other night as well. Is there a particular reason that you picked on MathPal and Bob Burnell? Or we're not picked on them, but they really caught your eye. Obviously, they're assholes, but MathPal. Let's start with MathPal. The first thing I came across with him was a conversation he had with Jackson Wheat. Oh. And I don't know if you follow Jackson much, but he's a really smart guy. I'm hoping to talk to him on my channel in the next few days. Have you?
And, yeah, and Jackson is he's very, very smart. Matt was coming out with things that was so stupid. I just saw this look on Jackson's face, like he'd just been hit with a baseball bat. He wasn't expecting that level of stupid. He was just sitting there, and I obviously with the mask on, I can't do the expression, but it was like, oh my god! And he got stuck actually answering some of the questions because he'd been, he wasn't expecting to work at that level. Yeah. And I thought, I can work at that level. So I thought I'd try to give MathPal the sort of primary school education that he needed. And he's such an odious guy anyway. I looked into him. He's one of these people who thinks that, gays should be imprisoned and things like that. He's horrible.
He got famous because he did a talk at the top of a pulpit that all atheists stay at home and play computer games. Like the meme I showed you earlier today, Mama, about that stream, that was his. That's why he got famous. He's not worth anything. It's just the problem is you always hear the squeaky wheel.
What I have a problem with though is he's a child. He's so fucking young. He literally has no idea what he's talking about. He just spouts this bullshit that is just thrown at him, and he believes in it. But he's so young, and that's where I can't stand him. And I didn't last week. I swear to God, I've never heard of the guy until last week. I don't know these people. I don't follow apologists and shit like that.
Yeah.
Or flat earthers or whatever. But he came on the channel I was on and argued with me about the Big Bang or whatever. And so I looked into it, and it's like, he's so young, and it's hard for me, especially because he's closer to my kid's age than he is to mine. So knowing that, and knowing that he is, he's an adult, yes, but he's a fucking child, and both in age and in the way he acts. So it's just, I have a problem, really getting too intense with someone like that. Give him time to, shut him the fuck up. He needs to shut up. But, give him some time to grow up and maybe learn a little bit and be a real adult for a while. That's all I'm saying.
Before we come on stream, I asked Atheist Morph. Before we come on stream, I asked Morph about MadPal, and he literally made his icon. But that was just double face palm.
Well, so if you've watched any of my videos about him, I pick out this clip where he's talking to Jackson, where he says that he's heard atheists say that in the past the sun was the size of the universe.
What the fuck?
Yeah, the sun was the size of the universe. Because obviously it's made of some sort of fossil fuel and it's burning up. So to be as old as we say it is, it must have been the size of the universe at some stage in the past.
So
it's like,
where did the sun get the fossils for the fossil fuel?
do you know how much oxygen it would take to burn it as well? I mean, it's just, I do some of those calculations in the video about how much oxygen's needed and all this sort of stuff, and it's just. I even look at the energy that's output from a kilogram of coal and how much there would need to be to output the power that it's putting out. I mean, he's going on about, he thinks that we measure the size of the sun with telescopes and it's actually getting smaller as it burns. Well, what we know is that it's actually growing slightly as it spreads mass. And it's just like, but if it was under his model, you could literally look at it and see it shrinking the amount of energy that it outputs. It's just absolutely crazy. He doesn't think anything. And which atheist have you ever heard say that the sun was once the size of the universe? Where did he even get that from?
I take from the way you speak, you have a large love for science, as I do myself, and his mama does as well. Do you have a background in science, or I know you say you worked for an organization, but do you have anything like that, or is just science and critical thinking just a passion for you?
I mean, I like science, and I've always liked science. I liked astronomy as a kid. My discipline's actually mathematics, so I have a master's degree in applied mathematics.
Very nice, very, very nice. So I wanted to pull up something that Ali said in chat. She says he's actually weaponized his age to deflect criticism before. Unfortunately, he's been manipulated by some very toxic people. The problem is his group has issued death threats against detractors. And there's some evidence that he might have known about or participated in them. So that's, that's still pretty fucked up. That's fucked up. He's fucked up.
Saying that, Mama, I didn't mention the issue before, but he is actually banned from Ireland as his second in charge, the guy that loves the pumpkins, but we don't want to talk about the pumpkins. Both of them have been banned from Ireland for hate speech.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It makes total sense. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is there any? Sorry, go on ahead, Mama.
I just wanted to read that for you. Go ahead.
Is there anything locally, Morph, that is, as I say, you're working with an organization? Is there anyone else around you locally that you can have these conversations with, or are you isolated, in real life, or do you just, I'm from being in Northern Ireland, most of the people who agree with me, I would find online. Do you find people locally would agree with you, or, obviously you're wearing the mask, but they do.
Yeah. But mainly online, I think, is the thing. Although I do sometimes talk about these things with my wife, who's also pretty much a lifelong atheist. And yeah, for different reasons. I mean, she's been very anti-religion for a long time because she's from your neck of the woods. and so she actually saw a lot of the violence growing up and so on.
Really? Oh. Well,
Yeah.
would it be rude for me to, like, I'm 37, would your wife be in around the same age, or would she be slightly
absolutely.
older would be worse?
Slightly older, yeah.
Yeah, that was even more. I sort of caught the tail end of it. I can only remember maybe one or two, actually watching bombings, maybe one or two, but slightly older than me, it happened an awful lot more.
Yeah, she was telling a story once that she was sitting in class and a car bomb went off, and they were so used to it that somebody just said, "Who farted?"
Yeah. I said that. I
So-
was actually on an interview earlier, and the guy I was talking to was originally from West Belfast, and that's pretty much what we said. I was like, over here, we're that used to it, we just sort of take it as a nonchalant and just move on and get on with our day. It does happen, and did happen too often.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she moved then to Northern, not to take a focus away from you, but she moved from Northern Ireland over to there, or did you meet her in Australia, or did she move for you?
No, we met in England. We met through work.
Handy.
So I've been in Australia since 2011.
Oh, so she's into mathematics as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. As everybody should, because maths is the world.
Well, here's an interesting fact. If you take the position in the alphabet of the letters M, A, T, and H and add them up, you get 42.
Really?
Doesn't that prove it?
I never heard that before. That I actually like that. I love wee maths, and obviously there's numerology. We can see numbers everywhere. My favorite number, my lucky number, would be 7 and 17. I'm the house I live in now is 7. Last one was 21. I grew up in 17. I have 14 steps. My daughter was born in 2017. There's lots of 7s and 17s in my life, but we give numbers value. Numerology is fun to do, but it doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah, well, pattern seeking is something that we do, isn't it? That's what our species does. We've obviously evolved to see patterns.
Yeah, we assign value to things that don't really have value. I have the same thing with like 4s, and 14 was all of our soccer numbers growing up. My son was born in 2004. I lived in a house that was number 44. I like 4s, so I get that. But it doesn't mean anything, but it's still something that we do, something that our brain does. It has to assign meaning to things, and it just is what it is, so.
Yeah, a lot of your videos, Morph, would be like, I'm thinking of the critical thing, or the confirmation bias video you did, talking about what we're talking. That people can see what they want to see, make agreements and agree with things, because that's what they want to believe to begin with. Like,
absolutely. And don't you see that on Twitter all the time?
I don't do the Twitter thing. I use Twitter for communicating with people and promoting. Talk to Mama and all the other Australians. That's part of Six Pack. The first thing they start with is, what crazy fucker did you meet in Twitter this week?
It's a good source for material, though, for video.
It is until somebody threatens to kill you, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? So.
But the people on Twitter, you're not going to convince.
The
people on Twitter, you're not going to convince. It's the same as why there's only very few. I hate using the word debate, more heated discussion, because when you have a debate, it straight away sets the ground rules that person 100% disagrees with you and will not be changed. Their mind is not open to anything. They're here to convince you, but we're not here to convince anyone. But at the end of the day, I'd like the audience to leave thinking questions.
Yeah.
I in my videos think critically. It's imperative. It really is, and so many of the theists just don't do that, and they just follow what is fed to them from so very young. It's unfortunate.
It's interesting you should say that, because have you noticed a trend with theists lately that they constantly project, and so they say to us, it's us that's not thinking critically.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't. Why do they do that? And then they turn it around and they say we're a faith or we're a religion, which isn't that them just saying religion is stupid themselves? Like they totally project so much lately.
It's very funny that they do that. They're like, right, well, you believe in the same sort of ideas and base and foundation that we do, so I can laugh at you as well. And it's like, so are you agreeing it's stupid?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a you too, isn't it? Type of thing. And I'm gonna muff this again. If you've actually seen the video on this fallacy, it took me about half an hour to get this right. Tu quo que? Did I manage that? Or tu quo que?
Tu quo que. Yeah.
You should have seen the outtakes for that. One day I might release the outtakes videos. It took me about half an hour to get that right. I was like jumping up and down in the morph suit, and I just couldn't say it because it was in the middle of a sentence as well. And I was trying to get it out, and it just wouldn't come out correctly. But
totally
this is
like
what
that with colloquial. Yeah.
And Ali says, I know you are, but what am I? So that's pretty much what they're doing. It's very childish. Yeah. And everything, you give them facts and reason and logic, and they quote the Bible. And you tell them anything else, you give me something, give me some secular proof. The Bible is not proof, but to them it is, so it doesn't fucking matter.
If I can just address something in the chat, poor Peter was trying to. Peter was making a joke, so I took his moderator status, and Dave just kicked him. Peter, we love you. We love you, Peter. Peter, come back. I don't know why Dave did that.
We're never going to see him again. He's fucking gone.
I only took it for like 10 seconds. I took his moderator status for like 10 seconds, and Dave was straight in there. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that was funny. Sorry, go on ahead. I apologize.
The other trend, obviously, this couldn't have happened before, but have you seen all of the religious arguments about the coronavirus? And, it's a message from God and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. Or it's judgment from God for whatever the fuck they want to blame us for.
Blaming Jews. I've seen Jews blaming Christians. I've seen everybody blaming atheists. I've seen it said that it's because we voted yes to marriage equality. Why don't they get together and decide what message it is first, and then we'll just shoot that one there.
Well, there's 30,000, I think, at last count. Isn't there something like 30,000 denominations of Christianity? That's a lot of people to get together and agree with stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. But wouldn't it be fun?
It would be absolutely hilarious if we could do that in a ring with weapons and maybe a video camera.
Could make it into a game show.
Yes, absolutely.
But you see, we do have that problem, and at the end of the day, we're all, and as I'm saying, you don't know the people from Australia, and it's a nice community, and there's also other different communities, but we do have infighting. That is the problem that I see an awful lot on the left side, is that because we are so outspoken, and if not to be rude, but if somebody fucks up, we jump on them, and rightly so sometimes in certain retrospects, but we do jump on them, and then we lose people, and we have infighting, we have lots of this, that, and the other, and we need to all come together and agree on certain things as well. So the power that we have is only a power we have as a group. Individually, we have nothing.
Even if we don't agree, we just need to fucking support each other. We don't have to, have the same opinions on everything. It doesn't need to be we believe in the same thing. We just need to fucking support each other. That's all.
Yeah, like there, I've noticed tonight, just before we came on stream, I noticed that Bernie's bowed out.
Yeah, not fuck me.
And
I'm the only American here. I'm gonna go cry for a little while.
Oh no! We all knew that this was going to happen, and people who didn't disillusioned themselves. Really, in my opinion.
No, I mean, yeah, we knew, but we hoped. Especially with the way the primaries went, and he won.
Oh, the first three, yeah. No, that was everybody going whoop, 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 and then everything went, oh shit, and they all fell for Biden, and he'll probably pick Bernie. More than likely, he'll go with Warren for the female vote for vice president, and hopefully they can get some progressive influence into it. But That's not going to happen. He ain't going to win. If Biden goes first, you're going to end up with 4 years of Trump. I'm sorry. Bye. I'm going to mute now. What is your thoughts on the American elections, Morph? I know you're from Australia, but sometimes American elections can be like a sitcom. It's fun to watch.
Fuck you.
Yeah, well, obviously I was hugely shocked when Trump got in. But another 4 years of him, I think, would be a disaster. I heard that he's appointed, this was something Seth Andrews said the other day, more than 200 right-wing judges.
And they're super right-wing, and most of them are now nowhere near qualified to be in the positions that he put them in. He just put them there because they fucking agree with his crazy-ass, super right-wing politics. It is... Oh, sorry. Who started this shit, MathPig?
Oh, no, I'm just trying to get Morph's influence here, Morph's point of view.
Yeah. So, but I think that I think that anybody who doesn't, who wants Trump out, just needs to vote for anybody but Trump.
Yeah.
So if it's Biden, they just need to get out and vote.
That's
yes.
Sorry, go on ahead, Mama.
It would be nice if they did, but the biggest problem with Biden, I think the influence came from the older generations, and they see him as safe. And they're also voting more because for some fucking reason, the millennials and the whatever the fuck is behind them just are not rallying behind anything, and they're not voting. They didn't care about the primaries because they don't understand the importance of it, because nobody taught them shit, because our education system is awful in this country. So they didn't realize you need to get out and vote for this first before you go and do the general election, because we need to find out who we're going to actually vote for. And they just don't. They didn't turn up. It was the older generation, especially the boomers, that went and voted. So and then now you have my generation and younger that are just not going to vote again like they did last time because they don't like the fucking candidate. So we're stuck with him.
Yeah, it's a rhetorical or like a reaction vote. Fuck you. I'm not going to vote for that because I don't like it.
I think it's important that people vote. Here in Australia, it's illegal not to. You get fined if you don't.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that's necessarily
fantastic. The way it should be.
This not care. If you don't care enough to vote, then you shouldn't complain about who you end up with.
That's why I watch American politics.
They had no problem after Trump was elected to go out on the streets with all of us and protest having him in. But what the fuck right did they have to do that when they didn't show up to vote in the first place?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I'm very limited here in Northern Ireland because the way it works in politics over in Northern Ireland, if you talk to 90% over here, as I said earlier, it's more cultural than it would be. Religion here is more cultural between Catholic and Protestant about who you would vote for than it would be what church you go to or how you believe in a certain God or anything like that. And the Protestant side over here and the Catholic side, it's a mandatory government that must be from both sides. And that was done because of the Good Friday Agreement and to try and get over the Troubles. The problem being now, it's boiled down to the people in charge are all extremists to the point where it's all Protestant or all Catholic and this, that and the other. The Irish want, Sinn Féin want the Irish language being taught in school. Because of that, you've then got the DUP who are Bible bashers and they now want a dialect more, in my opinion, taught in school. And it goes back and forth. And I could agree with Sinn Féin and more things. That would be gay marriage should be legal. Abortion, these things should be legal. And if I went out onto the street and talked to someone who I grew up with and said I support Sinn Féin more than I DUP, I'd have to worry about coming back with my knees at a certain, purportant in time. These things you can't say. So it's easier not to vote. The way they work it here is they vote for the person to stop the other person getting in. They don't vote for the person they want. They vote to stop the other person.
Yeah, which is almost what they need to do in the States this time. Just anybody but Trump.
Yeah. Any Americans listening, anybody but Trump.
I think people don't realize what a fragile thing democracy actually is. and you could, the fact that we've had democracy for a long time, in the States and in Australia and the UK, doesn't mean it always will be. There's plenty of European countries you can point to that. I think, is it Hungary, that had their last actual proper election back in the 90s, and ever since then it's just been one of these ones where it's all been rigged, and the same guys are getting back in.
Yeah. Well, it's stuff like, I don't know if you know about Mitch McConnell, but he's been in for. Okay, McConnell is the head of Congress. He's been he's the one who decides when laws come in from the House of Representatives, if they're going to go through, if they're going to even be seen. So he has literally a stack of hundreds of bills that the House of Representatives passed that were passed mainly by Democrats that just fucking sit there, and he refuses to put them through. And then they turn around and complain, oh, we haven't had our health care fixed, not our gun laws fixed, and any of that. And it's there in the fucking stack. And they blame the Democrats, and they call them the do-nothing Democrats when they have passed so many fucking laws. But McConnell will not have a goddamn, if it has a whiff of Democrat on it, won't do it. He is worse than Trump. He is the one that is super fucking up our country. He is the one who said when Trump was impeached, it doesn't matter what the evidence is. And he was talking to Trump beforehand and during the trial to figure out how he wanted it to go. So, as a judge or jury member, to talk to, because it's technically a trial, to be speaking to the fucking defendant and finding out how he wants the trial to go and what he wants them to do in order to sway it his way. That's McConnell, and he's been in for a fuck long time. He's from Kentucky. It's a congressman from Kentucky, and he's the one. I think if it came down to Trump or McConnell, it would be better to get McConnell out than Trump, because Trump has power of a sort, but he's a figurehead. He doesn't do shit. If you look at his schedule, it's literally, he has like one briefing session at like 1:00, and that's it. He does absolutely nothing. He plays a lot of golf. To do it. Go ahead.
Thanks for letting the rest of us talk there, Mama. Go on ahead. Go on ahead, Morph.
I said you started this. This is your fault.
You don't have this she's gone. You don't have this extremism like in conversations I've seen. I shall come back. It's fine. In conversations I've seen with Chris, the atheist pastor, you have your right wing and left wing, but your right wing, your conservatives are nowhere near as bad as the conservatives you would have in America. Chris would isn't that right, Mama? Can you come back for 1 second?
Yeah, Chris and his wife are both conservatives in Australia, and they're like my best friends in the world. And for me, as left wing as I am, to have that, it just goes to show how different the political sides are in your country.
Yeah. So your thoughts on that, Morph? Hold on, I mute Mama. Go on ahead.
Yeah. I think myself. I think that's absolutely right. I think that the right wing isn't as right wing as it is. I mean, in the States, the Democrats are not really left wing, are they? You have a right wing party and a sort of more centrist, sort of slightly right wing party, maybe. Here in Australia, I don't think our right is as far right, and our left is definitely further left. So,
more of a balance that you would have that's not so extreme.
Yeah, and I think we've also not just got the two parties. I think that there are some other parties that have, some proportion of the vote and do get, some influence in policy, like the Greens, for example.
The Green Party in your, I don't know anything about the Green Party in.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about the Green Party.
Don't know a whole lot, but I did agree with an awful lot of their policies for the last election. I read through their stuff. They're not just campaigning on environmental things. Obviously, environmental things are one of the things, but because they're not just like in the UK when the Greens first came about, it was just all environment, and you just thought, if they got in, what would they do about education and this, that, and the other? Because yeah, they didn't seem to have anything other than the environmental policy. Whereas the Greens here, they're a much bigger party, and they do have ideas about education and other things, not just the environment.
The Critical Cripple did mention that the other day. He would vote for the Green Party if they had more better. You know, I'm going to paraphrase and he'll shout at me later, but the Green Party here in the UK, as you say, isn't a complete. It doesn't cover everything. This, that, and the other. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. It's all about environment and making marijuana legal. That's, you know, it needs to widen its grasp and get more a bit this, that, and the other.
Well, apparently, if you do an environmental science degree, smoking marijuana is part of the coursework.
Ah, happy days.
Fuck me, thank you. And I guess I can't. Shit.
Have we any questions from the chat? Have we anything that they'd like to ask Morph? And we'll just throw that out there while we get through. Sorry. Anybody, any questions for Morph? Start thinking about them. Send me, tag me, let me know in the chat, and we'll ask him. And if we can get this man a few subscribers, because when we started tonight, I think, or when we booked this, you were at 28. You've gained a few.
29. I got somebody signed up last week.
Yep. So we need to get this man up. A few more subscribers. Give him. He's very clinical. Goes at it, and yeah, he's got a maths degree. So anybody who's got a maths degree, that deserves an awful lot of respect, a lot of effort putting in, shows a lot of clinical thinking, a lot of logical thinking. Definitely worth a watch. Plus, he jumps about in a red suit. He's quite funny, and as I said earlier, Peter will hunt you down if you don't.
Well, Peter's fucking gone, so we lost him forever. You know that the Dutch hold grudges like a motherfucker. I'm telling you.
How long have you known Peter? How long have you known Peter? Because I asked him to send me some DMs about some information, and he was like, I knew him before he morphed.
Yeah, Peter set me up. I mean, I'm not sure I'd have got going without him. He's a great guy. He was actually in one of my videos as well. We did one about Ray Comfort.
Yeah, the Banana Man. Seen that one, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Peter actually used the background of the bedroom that I was filming in, and then joked with everybody he'd taken a trip to Australia to record that section.
Oh, he's back. He's back. Okay.
Peter, glad to see you back.
One other question in reference to your suit. Red.
Yeah.
Is it a color, or did you go green or orange, or you like the red, or was it? What made you pick a red suit over anything else?
That's what they had in stock when I went to buy a morph suit. So I got the red, and I may buy a different color at some stage, and change it up a bit and keep it real.
How many do you own?
Just the one at the moment.
Just the one.
And before anybody ask the question, yeah, it is starting to smell a bit.
So wait. My Australian wife says that you're up to 3-4 subs now.
All right.
There you go.
Good stuff.
Everyone, and Morph, are you up for an after party? Would you be up for jumping in with another couple of people and having some chat and a bit of banter?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Right. Well, if you want to do a wee shill, I'm sure Mama's got another wee question. She can do a shout for herself. I'll schedule a wee after party, and yeah, we'll do that. So let everybody know what you do. What is your idea? Have you any futures, any plans for the channel?
I want to do some interviews. So later today, actually, I've got an interview with Lilith Liberated, which is going to be interesting. We're going to do a little sort of twist on her deconversion story, because I know she did a deconversion story on her own channel, which people should check out, and on Gonna Go For It, which if you haven't checked it out, you should.
Too, probably.
But she's going to actually put her theist hat back on and answer some questions that I've lined up for her.
Ooh,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to that, and I've got a lot of stuff set up for that, and and some things that I can come back at her with as well. And I also want to see how she would come back at her former self as well.
If you've got the link, put it in the private chat, and I'll add it to the actual description. And then people who watch this will know to go and watch it.
So
Perfect. Right. Well, what we'll do is, I haven't seen it. I've seen one question. Jay Weasel. He should use a non-chlorine bleach, mostly peroxide, for removing the smell. So that's one comment that we've got. I don't think he worries about if the red dies. You know, if it becomes a little bit pink, it could be interesting.
It's only me and my pets that need to put up with the smell at the moment anyway. So,
how many pets do you have, or what do you have? Dogs, or you're in Australia? Do you have snakes?
no, we don't. We don't have snakes. I've actually only seen 2 snakes since we've been here. People go on about snakes, but this is a built-up area. You don't see many snakes, but I've seen a couple.
The person we know, remember Sammy Jenkins? I think he recently sent me a message saying a brown snake went for the dog, and I was like, "What'd you do?" I cut his fucking head off. That's what I did.
What, the dog?
No. See, man's got humour. If anything else, the content definitely has humour. I do appreciate. I thought that the bag thing was very, very. It was, yeah, the bag thing with the keys. It was like, God's an evil bastard, just like dangling the keys above the bag, going, we're not putting them in yet. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Right, well, we'll be back in 13 minutes, and everybody needs to run and go get your drink filled up, go and have a bathroom break, and send me a Twitter message if you want in. Dave, going to be a good lad that he is. We'll put the link to the after party in the chat, and we'll see you all back in about 10-15 minutes. Morph, thank you very much for coming on.
Do you send me another link or
No,
what?
no,
Or
you just stay where you are. Just stay where you are. You're okay. I'm just saying thanks very much for coming on.
At the moment.
Pardon?
Are we actually broadcasting at the moment?
Yes, we're still live. I haven't finished yet because you keep interrupting me. Morph, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. You've got up way early. The man, it's like 6 a.m. for him. I really appreciate him getting up early. And saying that, he's already had a run, so it's not that bad. Mama, appreciate you coming on and being an honorary Australian for all the Australian questions. And yeah, everybody, we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Morph, again, thank you very much. Anything you want to say?
No. I don't want to interrupt again.
Shush, right. Okay, everybody, bye-bye. Thank you very much for coming.